Hello, welcome to Betfred's football show. I'm delighted to welcome two very special guests. We've got Gary Gillespie, 3 league titles with Liverpool, including the last one in 1990. And from Talk Sport, it's Dom McGuinness. Thanks for joining us, chaps. Gary, if I can start with you first of all, obviously unprecedented times and tragic times, but the NHS and our key workers have just done a fabulous job, haven't they?
Absolutely amazing, really. I think I've actually got a friend that his daughter recently went down to London to work in the NHS, and she actually went down as a physiotherapist kind of person within the hospital to learn her trade, and she ended up getting dragged into obviously being on the front line. And I think that just shows you the adaptability of people and the desire for these people to go and help other people. So 1 minute she's going down to learn how to treat people's, knees or muscles and things, and the next minute she's looking after people in IC units and having obviously the COVID virus, which I think is beyond belief, really. But as you say, I don't think anything can be beyond belief in these circumstances at the moment. So I think we take our hat off to everybody that's working as a key worker, whether it be a bus driver, whether it be a taxi driver, whether it be firemen, policemen, or certainly our NHS staff and our carers in the nursing homes as well.
I mean, Dom, we're very privileged. We get to talk about sport for a living. But I mean, the people who've kept the show on the road, the supermarket workers, the refuge staff, the bus drivers, as Gary's mentioned, it's been a huge team effort, hasn't it?
It has, and there's a lot of people within sport as well that have been very hands-on, doing their bit on the front line. Footballers Marcus Rashford has been commended for his work in terms of the amount of families that his charity that they've been working with have fed, and lots of boxers that I know have been out and about delivering food parcels to people in need in their community. So it's been an all-in effort. The NHS quite rightly get the most attention, but I think a lot of people are trying to do their bit as well. You've got your bus drivers, your transport people, and everyone. But as I say, it's been great to see so many people in sport and so many in professional football as well, who obviously do get a bad press sometimes, but they've been at the front line as well, trying to help and make sure that they're passing on some of their good fortune to the community. So it's been great for morale. You just hope that some of this goodwill and people being polite to each other and all the rest of it continues when normality kind of resumes again.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I've noticed, Gary, going on. I'm still, exercising just once a day, etc. And going on walks. People actually saying hello to you now and stuff like that. Now, you must get that as an ex-footballer anyway. But it's a lot nicer at the moment, isn't it? People have been a lot more pleasant to each other.
Yeah, I think it's. It'll be interesting to see if that actually continues after we get over the worst of this and the lockdown certainly ceases. But I think it'll be quite strange to get back to what we're going to think as normal. But I think the one thing that you would suggest that it has brought communities together again and a little bit closer, and people want to speak to you in the streets and say hello and maybe even just have a wee chat, obviously social distancing at the same time. And I think we walk the dog round the houses round where we are in Southport, and you can see people, they've got stickers in the front window, NHS. In fact, a lot of people are actually sitting out with the good weather in the front gardens and having a glass of wine or a cup of tea or a beer or something like that. And you pass them and there's always a wave and there's always a say hello. And it's quite nice. Whether that will continue when we're out of this remains to be seen. I hope it does, but as I say, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, let's hope it does. Right, let's talk about the Premier League return. As we record this right now, there's a meeting going on between all 20 Premier League clubs. I wasn't sure 3 or 4 weeks ago what's going to happen, but Dom, it looks like the Premier League is definitely going to return. It looks like we're definitely going to have relegation. It looks like neutral grounds are not on the agenda anymore. It's going to be home and away. So we've had contact training returning this week. It looks like Project Restart is about to go into a higher gear now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think firstly with the players going back, allowed to tackle and all the rest of it, it was first in small groups and clusters, and now you can see how it's edging towards full training now. And obviously with the twice weekly testing, we understand, at the training grounds, it means that, I think footballers will quite quickly adapt to going back to a kind of normality, and it won't be front of their mind, the virus. I think they'll know that everyone that is there in the training ground complex, bar some terrible mishap, is clear of the virus, so they can kind of just get back to normal. And and train. I think that obviously staff will be limited, the amount of staff that can be on site. And again, testing will be prioritised for the players and everything else. So I think as players, I'm sure Gary will relate to this, that they'll just get in there and they'll crack on now once that they feel that it's a safe environment. So that's a massive step towards normality. And then obviously with everything else that's going on, I mentioned the twice weekly testing, but I think now with everybody on board with finishing the season, it would seem, in the Premier League particularly, that they're just going to have to structure it. It's going to be really interesting to see how they do it. Behind closed doors, it will be home and away, even though there won't be any fans within the venues. It's going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10 different kickoff times over the weekend, we understand. And it will be starting around 19th of June, possibly put back a week, but that's what they're aiming at. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. Certainly, again, we don't underestimate the bigger problem, which is the virus in society and all the rest of it. But in terms of sport and coming back, we can see that it can happen now. It's going to happen. So it's good news. I mean, we all want some kind of normality, don't we?
Yeah, and Gary, for me, as a football fan, I was just adamant that we need to finish the season. We need to finish the season. Now, I know you're going to say, obviously, because of Liverpool's position, we should finish the season. But no, as a football fan, I just felt that we had to finish this season.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit like you, Mark. I think a couple of weeks ago, it was certainly, I think it was very much up in the air whether that would happen or not. But I think the way that we've moved on, and I think with the virus looking as if it's getting a little bit under control, and obviously with the testing that's going to be done with the football clubs as well, I think it's peace of mind, isn't it, to try and put the players' peace of mind. I think they've got that at this moment in time. I think what will interest me is the fact these players have been off for probably, 10 weeks now. It's probably the longest time they've ever been off in their careers. Normally in the summer, they've got a tournament to go to, and I think Sadio Mane last week had 2 weeks off. So it'll be interesting to see the fitness levels when they do come back, whether they've lost anything whatsoever. I know they've been training and Zoom meetings and things like that, but it's not quite the same as obviously playing games. So interesting to see how they go about the actual games themselves. But I think like everybody that's involved in football, I think we're all just grateful that it's coming back, and it is going to be decided, promotion and relegation, and obviously the title, which looks like Liverpool are going to win.
Even Liverpool can't mess it up this year, Gary. But
you never know.
Talk about that.
You never know until it's done.
We'll talk about that in more detail in a moment. But Jordan Henderson has spoken so well, hasn't he? I mean, I think during this awful period, Jordan's come out of this with a lot of credit, hasn't he?
Well, I think when he took over from Steven Gerrard, there was a lot of people suggested that he shouldn't have got the captaincy from Steven. And it was big shoes to fill, wasn't it? Steven Gerrard was such a leader, and what he did for Liverpool was absolutely immense. And I think Jordan has obviously stood back, learnt from that, and year on, year out, or year in, I think he's got better at it. And I think, it speaks volumes for what he's done. And you've got to remember, this was before the kind of the clamour was for the footballers to get together and try and do something, and he was very, very much the head part of that. So I think all credit to him, and it's not just been his captaincy and his leadership qualities, it's been his performances on the pitch as well. I think Liverpool at this moment in time, and a lot of people maybe 5-6 years ago wouldn't have said this, but his performances on the pitch just now, when he's not playing, Liverpool seem to miss him. So I think that speaks volumes for him as well. I think he's got talent, he's got leadership qualities. How long he's got left at Liverpool will remain to be seen. But I think at this moment in time, he's doing absolutely everything right, and he's done everything right off the field as well.
You played under some great captains as well, Gary. Jordan, is there much leading by example on the pitch?
Well, I think,
captainship?
Well, to be honest with you, to be a great captain and a good captain, you don't have to be the best player all the time. So I remember down in Coventry when I was just a young lad, Terry Yorth, a guy called Terry Yorth, who was a Welsh captain at the time as well, played for Leeds and was at Coventry. Really experienced player, and he was never like the best player at Coventry. What he had leadership qualities, and he would get the best out of everybody around him. He could be having an absolute stinker in the game himself, but that never affected him. It was always about getting the best out of his teammates. And I think Jordan, to a certain extent, has done that as well. Not that he's had too many stinkers. I think, as I say, over the last couple of seasons, he's been absolutely impeccable. But I think he does have great leadership qualities. and it'll be fantastic, hopefully, to see him at the end of this season lifting that trophy.
Dom, as the Northwest correspondent for TalkSport, whether obviously you've been covering them going back into training. I know reporters are not allowed in at the moment or whatever. What kind of level do you think they're at the moment? I mean, the contact training just started, and Gary's alluded to it. They're going to be a wealth being match fit, aren't they?
Well, they've had longer than a normal pre-season off. What they have had is the training programs, and I think that it's true they can't possibly be anywhere near where they match fit to go out and play now. But I think they're incredibly professional. I think in lockdown as well, it's not like there are too many distractions. I mean, there's been a couple of high-profile misdemeanors, but there's nothing else for anyone to do but stay fit, stay focused. Really, as long as they can stay socially distanced from the fridge, I suppose is the only problem that
it's a problem, that,
I think back in our day, Dominic, at 10 weeks off, I think you'd notice the difference just coming back.
Yeah, but there's no cheeky trips to Ibiza. There's nothing that anyone can do. They can only train, and as I say, that's probably the only problem is the fridge. But I think that they are so professional, and they all know that their fat level, everything's been super monitored, whether via Zoom or not, and all the high tech situations that you have now with the sports science. They can't get away with anything. They've got to stay fit. And I know that they've all been doing their various training programs, and you've seen them out and about in fields and training with their mates or whatever when they can. I think they'll go in there, a certain type of fitness, they'll be fine. But yeah, obviously playing football, they've got to get up to speed, and they've got a few weeks to do that. Not long. Well, they've literally not got very long, have they? It could be kick-off in 3 weeks. So it's interesting. And I think it'd be great in some ways. It could be a real leveler, couldn't it? I mean, I don't know what kind of quality we're going to get straight away. It could really be like those pre-season games that you see. Yeah. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of games that won't really matter. I mean, Liverpool have to seal the deal, so it matters. They've got to get over that. I think Everton's the first game, isn't it, Gary? So...
You know what, Dominic? I've taken my eye off the ball. It might well be. I thought it might have been Man City. Is that the second game? I'm not 100%.
Well, City have got Burnley, and City have got 10 games to play. Liverpool have got the 9. But I think that the point is we're all so confused now with everything that's gone on. It's going to be hard for us to pick up where we are. But likewise for the players, they've got to try and remember where they were in the season. And obviously those in relegation, it's going to be quickly upon them what they've got to do. But there's going to be other games that I think it will be about treating it a little bit like a pre-season for next season for some teams. Nice position for some to be in, but obviously massive hurdles for others to overcome.
Yeah, I think in Liverpool's position as well, I think when you think about it, they've only got these 2 games that they need to win. I mean, say for instance they win their first 2 games, then the next 7 games that they've got are pretty dead rubbers, aren't they, for them? So it'll be interesting to see how that happens, how that works out, and how they go about that. I think maybe a lot of the kids might get a few games.
Yeah.
Very quickly, before we talk about the Liverpool position, what is the difference, Gary, between being fit and match fit?
You're probably asking the wrong person.
Well, I know it's been a few years ago.
No, I think it's just general fitness, and Dominic's absolutely right. I think that the big difference between certainly our era and the modern day era, the science behind it all is far greater now, and all individual training programs that we never had. But I think the one thing is, even although you've trained as hard as you possibly can, always it seemed that on that first game of the season back, you always felt tired towards the end of that game, regardless of how fit you were. And I think it's about getting your touch, it's about getting the weighted pass, the running, the timing of releasing the pass, and all things about that involved in playing football that you probably can't get with just like physical training. So I think again it'll be interesting. You watch these pre-season games, and I've watched like a few over and sometimes you can see the mistakes that players make, and you just think, well, that's not absolute tiredness. It's just a lack of like having a bond or like that that time with your fellow players. And I think that's something that you miss. It's probably the playing the football and the timing of the pass, the weight of the pass, probably the difference of the grasses as well, which maybe isn't the case at this moment in time in the Premier League because most pitches are always the same. But certainly that was something that we had to deal with as well. But I just hope that everybody comes back and everybody's as safe as can be, and it goes as well as we all hope it will do.
Look, Gary, you're going to win the title. What will it mean?
Well, I mean, it's a fantastic achievement. I think from 30 years ago, that was the last time Liverpool won it. And I think the players and the coaching staff will feel a sense of achievement because, as I say, it's been such a long time. The joy will probably be sucked out a little bit, purely simply because the fans won't be able to celebrate how they would have been able to celebrate. And I think, first and foremost, when you kick off every season, your ultimate goal and your aim is obviously to win the title. And Liverpool had 30 goals at it since, back in 1990. So it's been a long time for them. But in saying that, it's been a long time for the fans as well. And I just think I feel really sorry for the fans that they're going to miss out on a celebration that, it would have been a heck of a celebration for them. And that's the only downside. The upside for Liverpool is that I think they've got a squad of players at this moment in time that will compete at this level for the next 3 or 4 years. So there might even be an opportunity next season that we could win it again and maybe celebrate and enjoy it how we would have done this year. Ultimately, it won't be the case this year, obviously, but I do think that the future is bright for Liverpool and certainly bright for their fans.
What difference has Jurgen Klopp made then, do you think, Gary?
I think his management skills are exceptional. I think he's made good signings. He's recognised weaknesses in the team when they had them. He went out and got a left full back, which was a weak position. The goalkeeper was obviously a big position as well. And Van Dijk's made a big difference as well. So there's 3 players that he went out and bought, identified the problem, solved the problem. But then you've got to manage the squad, and I think he's done that exceptionally well. And you see on social media, I mean, who wouldn't want to play for a manager like Jurgen Klopp? He puts his arms around them. There's always a smile on his face. I'm sure he's hard when he needs to be hard on them, but he's got that that camaraderie within the dressing room as well. And I speak about that a lot. That all successful team sports have that camaraderie in the dressing room, and I think he epitomises that, and he brings the best out of them in that respect as well. And technically on the pitch, he's been exceptional. I think I've watched a number of games this season for Liverpool where it's not been going quite well in the first half, and then second half he's obviously identified that, or his staff have identified that, have come out in the second half and put it right and got the results. So I mean, I think he's a top class manager, and he's a top class bloke first and foremost.
As an outsider, how do you view Jurgen Klopp then, Dom?
I think he's fantastic. I agree with everything Gary's just said then. And I think what I like about him is not just he brings a massive charisma. I mean, people always talk about the characters in football, and obviously the other high-profile managers like Jose Mourinho, or people that have come into the game, particularly from overseas. Even like Louis van Gaal and all these guys that have achieved great things. I think he's got the balance exactly right in terms of he likes to have a laugh. He showed a great sense of humour. He's serious. We know he's all about the business, as that's evident with this Liverpool side. He seems to have the human touch with the players, but with the supporters as well, a common touch. I just think he just looks absolutely spot on. What I particularly like about him actually as well is dealing with him from the media perspective, is that even when he's a little bit chippy, I quite like the way he carries himself when he's having a go at you. Because it's happened to me, it's happened to other people where he's actually turned on a question he didn't like, and the smile's gone and he's turned on you, he's given you a right bit back. And if he thinks he's overstepped the mark, he'll apologise at the end of the interview. Now, again, that just to me is perfect because, if you're doing your job correctly, sometimes you are going to wind a manager up. But how they deal with that sums up the man, really. And I think, of course, have a go back at the reporter. Why not? Nothing wrong with that. But he's got the grace and the manners to even apologise if he thinks he's stepped out of line at the end of it. So I think he's got a lot of class, and I think he's been brilliant for the game as a whole. Clearly, he's been brilliant for Liverpool.
Did Fergie never apologise to you and Dom?
That's the thing. There's a lot of managers that'll have a go at you, and again, I've no problem with that anyway. And there's you don't expect an apology. I just think it's. I think that I don't understand when people in the press get a little bit mardy about a manager having a go, or even a footballer. If you're asking questions and they're talking to you, that's the main thing. Some players and managers won't really even talk to you. If they're talking to you and they give you some back, fine. That's absolutely fair game. And I just think it shows a little bit of class as a person if they're actually going to say, do you know what, I think it was a bit out of line there, sorry. It's like, wow. But no, it's very rare for someone to do that.
You've covered a lot of games at the Etihad this year, Dom, for TalkSport. Have Man City just been off the boil this year, or have just Liverpool just been far superior? than everyone else?
I think it's very hard for teams to stay motivated to the absolute 100% level you need to do to win back-to-back Premier Leagues, or, again, as has been discussed and for all through the season, I think Pep Guardiola always had the Champions League as number one priority. He's never going to say that publicly, and how can he? Because, of course, you want to get your domestic matters sorted. But I think it was just a flip. Liverpool have done the European business. They haven't done the domestic business. And City have been doing domestically what they need to do. They haven't done it in Europe. So, again, really, if there was a gentleman's agreement at the start of the season and Jurgen said, I'll give you this, you give me that, everyone would have been happy. And I think that's where they're at. And I think just even though Pep will absolutely believe it and mean it when he says every game is important, I just think subconsciously it can't be. It just can't be. And there is that tiny, tiny fraction of difference. Champions League still going great. Obviously, domestically, Liverpool have battered everyone, really, let's face it. So there's just been the odd, even Manchester United have been a little bit of a thorn in City's side in terms of, they're doing the double in the derbies. Things like that. Those small margins, they matter over the course of the season. Liverpool have just been absolutely imperious anyway, so they've run away with it.
Dominic, don't you think, Laporte missing was a big factor as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When you, and I've said this for probably last season and this season as well, and looking towards the future, you lose the likes of Silva, who's obviously he's past his best. Aguero's no spring chicken, probably dare I say it, probably past his best. Fernandinho, they missed him in the middle of the park because he had to go and play centre back. Again, no spring chicken. I'll be interested in how they go about replacing these three players, because I think these three players are key to the way Man City want to play and how they play. And if they don't get that right, then it might be a struggle for Man City.
Yeah, and I think the one minor criticism of Pep, who, let's face it, he's been brilliant. He was brilliant at Barcelona. He did great things in Munich. He's obviously set Manchester City and took them to a different level. But he sometimes, it seems from the out, to us, well, why didn't he sort the goalkeeper situation a bit quicker than he did? Because Edison was that missing link in terms of the goalkeeper. He kicked Joe Hart out straight away, but Claudio Bravo was never the man. And he stuck with him for a good while. And again, that little things where you think, well, he just appears to know better than everyone else and can't change his view. So the Laporte situation, why hadn't he strengthened at centre-back? Company went and wasn't replaced. So why not then get someone that can just slot in and he's ready? Fernandinho is an excellent footballer and can play centre-back. And Pep loves bringing midfielders into centre-back anyway. He did that with Mascherano at Barcelona. And, it doesn't matter if you're a little fella. If he thinks you can play there, he'll use you there. Fernandinho is one of his favourite players, so he knows he can play there. But, it's kind of square pegs, round holes and all that kind of stuff. Whereas, as you say, Fernandinho was so good in that midfield role that has been deprived of them. I think that the City can add new players and will, and they're always looking for the best. I think there's still a bit of life left in Aguero if he doesn't want to go back to Argentina yet. I don't see where else he can go. Really, at 31, does he want to start somewhere else in Europe, or does he just want to go home? I think really he could have another blistering season because he doesn't play every single game. He has got Jesus that he can use in certain games. And as you say, David Silva, who's been fantastic. I think that obviously De Bruyne is staying fit. And, if they keep Bernardo Silva, who, again, has proved that he can fill holes and has done really well, I think they'll be okay. But they'll add some young midfielder. They'll get one of Europe's best. They're being linked to everybody. They will add as well. And they've got some great talent in the academy.
Well, let me just put one question to you before we move it back to Liverpool, Dom. Gary said he's really looking forward to next season because of the strength of the Liverpool squad. Is Pep Guardiola going to be the Man City manager next season?
Well, yeah, that's what. So he keeps saying anyway, and I think that now, particularly with what is this season now?
Well, it's going to be such a short gap as well, isn't it?
Well, he can't not be really. I mean, obviously, the way it's gone now, the season's going to end and then start again immediately. So Pep's in training now. He's in training now, really, for the next season, isn't he? It's not just finishing this one. Everyone's back now, and the transfer window, everything it's just contracts in June. The whole thing is so unprecedented that nobody really knows. But yeah, I mean, the new season is going to go into the new season anyway. So yes.
And condolences to Pep, of course. He's
Yeah.
been touched by this, hasn't he? That, his mother tragically killed by this virus.
Yeah.
Right.
Just one quick point, Mark, as well, though.
Yeah.
I think Pep's son is doing his A-levels, which wouldn't have been this year, would be next year anyway. So I think that's another reason why he's always said he's staying off for another year. That would make sense as well. He's in Manchester completing his studies. So it would make sense for another season as well anyway.
Right, let's have a quick look at the league table. So 29 games, 82 points. That says it all, doesn't it? 29 games, 82 points. That is just phenomenal, isn't it? One draw and that one defeat at Watford, Gary.
Well, I think it is. It's an incredible start that you give there. And I think you can even take it further back to last season. To only lose one game last season and not win the league was like incredible, really. So this has been going on for quite a while at Liverpool. And, who would have thought and who would have expected that it'd be Watford that would get the better of Liverpool. But I think that just shows you how football works at times. And hence the reason why, even with 9 games to go and only 2 victories required, you just don't want to say that it's got to be Liverpool for the title. Albeit I think old Betfred and Fred would probably get good odds on it being Liverpool. But no, I think it's been remarkable. It's been fantastic. It hasn't been a season where they've played exceptionally well and blown teams away on a regular basis. I think what you see there is what they've done is they've ground out results, they've managed games pretty well when they've been in front. Possession-wise, they've been good. Defensively, again, they've been quite solid as well with the keeper and the centre-backs. I think they've got a great squad of players. And as I say, I think they're here to stay and I can't see them going away anytime soon. But for what they've achieved over the last 2 seasons, has been nothing short of remarkable.
Until football comes back, we're going to look back at a season. And for this episode, I picked 1990, obviously. Very apt with what's going on at Liverpool. Right. When you won it then in 1990, you can't have thought then it's going to be another 30 years until it happens again.
Absolutely not. I think it was a case. I mean, I'd signed for Liverpool in 1983, I think it was. And I left in 91. In the 8 years that I was at Liverpool, the lowest we finished was second. So, I mean, it become an expectation that you were going to win it every year or be there or thereabouts. So the fact that we came second in 1991, the following year in 1992, they still thought that they were going to win the league. I mean, to think it's 30 years down the line is quite incredible. I mean, 1990 was a turbulent kind of year as well because Kenny won that season, then he left the following season. And I think that had quite a bearing on the football club. I think we lost our way a little bit. Didn't really have MD to steer the rudder the way that they had done in the past. And I think that has got a big influence on what happened. Even although we still finished second in 1991, I think it was. In 1990, I did signed Glenn Hussein, so I'd had a couple of injuries, bad injuries, and I never played a big part in 1990. I played my part, but not a big part. I think I might even scored 4 goals in that campaign.
You did. You scored. I've checked today, Guy. You scored 4 from 13, which is not a bad return, including 1-0 win against Millwall at home, the only goal. And then just the game after securing a title, you scored the only goal against Derby at home as well. So they are 2 very important goals.
I actually scored the winner the night we got presented. I think we got presented the trophy that night, and I scored the winner. I got totally overshadowed because a certain substitute came on, the name of Mr. Dalglish, who was about 65 at the time, playing his last game, and he got all the headlines and all the glamour and the glitz, and it was because of him that we had won it. So I got totally overshadowed, not for the first time, and certainly not for the last time as well.
So no, you definitely played your part that season, but I remember particularly that season, John Barnes just being outstanding, top scorer, 21 goals. Ian Rush got 18. How good was John Barnes?
Barnesy was probably, when he came to Liverpool, his first couple of seasons, he was sensational. Probably the best player in Europe at that time. Certainly that I had seen. He was he was a fantastic individual, but what a great team player as well. He would obviously he'd work his socks off up and down that left-hand side. You could give him the ball, know the ball was protected, nobody could get it off him. But he was a great lad as well, great team player. And you had Beardsley as well, who had that little bit of magic about him as well. And I think when you look at that team, 1990, I know Aldo he had gone. He was there early on, was he? And then he'd gone. Then Rushy came back as well.
Yeah.
But you had players that could make a difference in areas of the pitch that hurt other teams. The likes of John Barnes, the likes of Peter Beardsley, the likes of Rush and Aldridge. And when you look at it today, Liverpool have got kind of the same sort of format with like the likes of Mane, Salah, and Firmino that are capable of hurting teams. And I think that was a lot of people have asked me to make comparisons with the team of 1990 to this current day side, and I would always say that they've got quality individuals that can turn the game on its head in a blink of an eye. And then the rest of the squad was made up of like sound kind of individuals. Steve McMahon's a player that maybe gets overlooked a little bit in the middle of the park. Ronnie Whelan's another. But it was a fantastic time. And as I say, at the start of every season, we always expected to be there or thereabouts, and it was always the one trophy and the one thing that we were always set out at the beginning of the season to win. If we won the league, I think we were always happy. Even above the European Cup in the 1984, the league title was always the one thing that we wanted to win, and hopefully that's going to be the case this year.
And Gary, like so many title-winning sides, you finished the season up so strongly as well. 9 unbeaten, including 7 wins.
Yeah, I think throughout the course of a season, you're never going to be at your best, and there's going to be peaks and troughs, and certainly ups and downs. And I think it's how you get through the troughs that really determine how good a side you're going to be. I think, and that's what Liverpool again have done this season. They've dug out games and dug out results. And I think that's the quality of a good side. I think you look at all the good Manchester United sides, they never knew when they were beat. And they always got something out of games when they're like maybe not at their best. But then when you go on and you begin to perform like how you know you can perform with players that like we just mentioned, then I think it's a joy to be on the pitch and playing. And it's just, you just go onto that pitch expecting to blow teams away. And 9 wins in the trot is a fantastic achievement. I think the one we did in the double year in '86, I think we went 13 games undefeated and scored a shed load of goals and only conceded about 2 or 3. So that's the stuff that like wins you titles and wins you league titles, certainly.
And Dom, I think me and you are a similar age, aren't we? So, growing up in 70s and 80s. Sorry?
29.
With a few years' experience. We just got used to Liverpool winning stuff, didn't we? And, great Liverpool sides just keep getting churned out.
Yeah, and it's very, very similar. The empire that Liverpool created was similar to the one that Sir Alex eventually created as well, in that there was a massive fear factor. And I think that, Klopp this season has got that as well now, that teams don't expect anything. I mean, all right, the Watford result was a crazy one, but again, when there's absolutely zero pressure on a side and all the rest of it in terms of going into that game, no one expects anything. But I think overall, teams just don't expect to get anything from this Liverpool side, and certainly not those great Liverpool sides of the 80s. They were just completely a class above. And you look at Manchester United, who was chasing Liverpool for all those years and did catch up and overtake eventually. But back in those days, all they could ever do was just be a little bit of a thorn in Liverpool's side and win the odd battle, always lose the war. But it was just because I think it's habit as well with teams like that. They never expect to drop points. They never expect to lose. And it becomes self-perpetuating. It's a self-prophecy almost that they're going to win every game or they're not going to lose games. And they just become this unbeatable force. And that's pretty much what the way that they are at the minute.
I think you're absolutely right with the fear factor, Dominic. I've watched loads of Liverpool games this season as well. And I look back to the time I was playing, and I've been watching quite a few reruns as well. The amount of chances that we gave up in 1990 or throughout the 80s, and players just fluffed their lines in front of goal. It was unbelievable. And it's been very much the case again this season as well. You look at the opportunities and the chances that have been created by opposition playing against Liverpool, and for whatever reason you think it's easier actually to score than it is to miss. But I do think and I do believe that you're absolutely spot on. Manchester United, you make a great comparison there, but exactly the same in the noughties as well. I think that fear factor is a big plus to have on your side. I think Liverpool do have that at this moment in time.
Do you think you won back in your day? Do you think you won quite a few games in the tunnel? And Gary, you know,
well, the one that we
looked
lost in the tunnel allegedly was the 1988 Cup final against Wimbledon. But I don't know about that. I think I always remember going to Celtic and speaking to Tony Mowbray, who was at Celtic at the time, and when he played for Middlesbrough, he always felt that we were arrogant. When we came into like a place, we were quite arrogant, which I never really thought about, and never thought that that was the kind of players that we were. But I think that arrogance is it's probably a self-belief more than an arrogance. And I think when you have that self-belief, then I think it stands you in great stead. And I think that's what we had back in the 80s. And again, I make comparison. I think they've got that at this moment in time within Liverpool, within the team in 2020.
Do you ever compare your 3 league titles or anything like that, or was the first one more special, or the third one, or was it just you ended up being so sort of developed into the Liverpool way that we're here to win things?
Well, I think everybody's heard the story about. I mean, when we won the league, or when we won the league in the 80s, I mean, Ronnie Moran would just come round the dressing room with a cardboard box, and there was no frills and fancies about presentation. He would either throw them to you if you'd played enough games, which I think was 13 or 14 back in the day. You have one son, and you have one son, and that was put to bed, and it was all about the next again season. So I don't think there's any one stands above the rest. If there was one, and I was pointing out, 87, 88 would probably be the highlight, because it was such a fantastic team and fantastic year. The start of the season, I think we went 29 games undefeated. We equalled Leeds' record at the time, and eventually lost to Everton at Goodison to break it. But that would probably be the pick of the bunch. But I don't think you can, nitpick between the 3. Each one had its merits and stands themselves in their own right.
I love looking back, and obviously as part of your career, Gary, the crowd was such a big factor and always has been at Anfield as well. And I suppose the very strange thing when we do return is it's going to be behind closed doors. How difficult is that going to be for the players?
I think that's the biggest and the saddest thing that really is going to be missing, because I think football is fantastic in its own right, but without the fans, I don't think it's quite the same. I think everybody would say exactly the same thing. You play your football, you obviously play to earn a living when you're a professional, and you play for your club and you play for yourself. But first and foremost, I think you go out there, you know that these fans are going to turn up and watch you. I think you're playing for these fans, and it will be sadly missing when football does get back. So hopefully we can get back to normal sooner rather than later, because, as I say, football without fans is not quite the football that we all know and love.
John?
It can't last without the fans, can it? It's nothing like the product. It's so alien. It's all about the fans being there. Of all the sports that are going to have to continue behind closed doors, it isn't snooker or darts, is it? Even darts, you could say, would miss the crowd, but nothing like football. It's all about the crowd, really. So, it just can't go on behind closed doors for too long, you think. And I know it's a silly statement to make when the virus is still everywhere, but unless it's never going to be the same, which we don't want to think like that, do we? So we just hope that as soon as it can possibly get back to having crowds and common sense crowds, and you're not going to be able to move for sanitizers. People are going to wash their hands. People are going to keep the distance. There's going to be no shaking hands and hugging all over the place. Just common sense stuff, I think, will prevail. And I think it will get back to normality. But of course, it's going to take a bit of time.
It's certainly going to take out a bit of time. We are running out of time as well. It's just a final question to Gary. Have you got on a golf course yet?
We've been back for a week, I think it is. So I've had a couple of games. I struggled actually to get round. I felt like pretty knackered when we came off after 18 holes after not playing for a wee while.
You're not match fit.
Well, it's great to get back out, and as I say, with the weather being so fantastic as well, it really is a joy. And if there is a sport where you can social distance, I think golf is probably one of them.
Yeah, I'm generally in the rough or in the trees, definitely social distancing. Gents, really enjoyed your company. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for watching. And everyone, please stay safe.